All right, welcome to Uniquely Issaquah. Joining us on this episode is Matt Meckler. Matt, introduce yourself to everybody.
So you've done a good job on Matt Meckler. I'm the Parks Operations Supervisor for the City of Issaquah. A little bit about me. I've worked for the City of Issaquah since 1986. I started out as a seasonal employee while going to college and kind of did that for a few years, coming back during summer breaks, winter breaks, spring breaks, any kind of break I could to get extra money. And then eventually, once I graduated from college with a geography major, came back that last year and worked for the city parks department for about a year. And then I was still looking for a full-time position because I was still part-time at that particular time, and got a job with Public Works Operations. So I worked with the Public Works Ops crew for about 2.5 years. And then a position came back up in Parks Operations, and I kind of made that switch, and there's where I've been ever since.
Ever since.
Yeah.
And the city's all the better for it.
That's right. That's right.
So kind of talk about, as you came back at your full-time position, kind of talk about what your job and responsibilities were once you got into open space. I mean, today our episode's called Coexisting with Carnivores. So it's really, we kind of want to talk about, like we talked before the podcast, and you had said, we live in Mother Nature's backyard, not vice versa.
Exactly.
So, kind of talk about the uniqueness of Issaquah and the open space that surrounds us and the wildlife that is part of our daily lives that we may not even see.
Sure. Sure. It's actually surprising because being that, I was open space steward for about 10 years before becoming the Parks Operations Supervisor. So the majority of my time was spent out in our city open space. And even though I was out there pretty much 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, I did not see a lot of wildlife. You see the occasional deer and, some birds and things like that. But the larger predators, be it bears or bobcats, things like that, just did not see. So shortly after I started the open space steward position, we kind of started thinking it might be kind of fun to buy some wildlife cameras and kind of see what is out amongst us, in the hills. So,
and I have been a beneficiary of a lot of those videos pictures, and I have appreciated it and shared it with the rest of the community. We've gotten some really good stuff over the years. So thank you.
We have. So, I mean, and that was amazing when we started doing that because it was a real eye opener for me too. Mm-hmm. I mean, I knew the wild animals existed. They're around us all the time, but to see the quantity, it was really exciting to see what types of animals we're using in our open space and even our parklands. And, for instance, out at Park Point, which is just kind of south of town near the Issaquah High School, it's about 101-acre open space site. We had a couple wildlife cameras set up there. And just in having those cameras set up, we were able to identify 8 different bears that lived in that general area, or at least were using that area. They may not have lived there, but they were traveling through there. So
8 distinctive bears. It wasn't the same bear 8 times.
No.
It was 8 different bears.
Yeah, you could definitely tell because there was like a mother with very small cubs, and then there was like another mother with like 2 younger cubs that were probably yearlings.
Did you guys give them names?
I did not. No. I wish I would have thought of that.
Here comes Bubba.
Exactly. I should have thought of that. And then there was like this big, I guess I did have one. There was like the granddaddy. He was like this big bear with kind of a gray muzzle. So he was really distinctive. And then there was like a younger bear that usually traveled by himself. So there was at least probably 5 for sure, but I'm pretty sure there was at least 8. So anyway, that was interesting.
And Park Point is like really close to homes.
Oh, it is, yeah.
We're not talking the backside of Tiger Mountain up here. We're talking, a few hundred yards from Issaquah Hobart, right?
Exactly. So just off of Issaquah Hobart Road, and then like I said, mentioned right behind the high school area and the residential area in kind of that southeast portion of town.
But we never see them. You know,
Rarely. I mean,
rarely,
every once in a while we'll have a report. Someone will call and say, "Hey, I spotted a bear." But it's amazing that we don't really receive that many calls or concerns from citizens. So they're out there. They're just very secretive,
doing their thing.
Exactly.
Speaking about that, let's talk about the program that the city's involved with right now, because we've got some different wildlife cameras and a different process to doing it a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So, like I mentioned, we started with the wildlife cameras just kind of more for our information, just to, park-wise, just to see what was out there. Well, through that process, it just so happened that the Issaquah School District, with their biology program in the 6th grade, they were working with a program called Coexisting with Carnivores. Okay. So, I don't think we each knew what the other was doing, but through the process, we learned about it. And so the last few years, we were kind of assisting the Issaquah School District with helping them set up their cameras for their biology, kind of term project. And then that kind of morphed into this new project, which is the Issaquah Parks Carnivore Project. So it's a program that we're working with the Woodland Park Zoo on. And they actually got a grant to purchase cameras. And we have deployed cameras on kind of throughout Issaquah. We have a couple cameras set up on Cougar Mountain, a couple on Tiger Mountain, and then a couple up in the Highlands too. And it's all to basically see what kind of wildlife is out there. I mean, we had a pretty good idea what was out there, but just see how they're interacting with these neighborhoods. And so each crew or team has 2 cameras. So we have one that's kind of set off in the we call it off-trail camera. So it's kind of set out away from any trails or anything like that, more in the natural areas. And then there's also a camera set up on the trail too. So, obviously we know people are using the trails, right. but then it's just kind of to see what other types of animals use the trails out there too. So we have that on all 3 kind of areas, the Cougar, Tiger, and Issaquah Highlands area.
And they're currently out there now?
They are currently out there now.
Pictures? Yeah,
they're collecting the pictures right now. That information is kind of being shared. It's going to be uploaded to the Smithsonian Institute to their eMammal project, and then just kind of so it'll be shared kind of nationwide or worldwide eventually. Okay. Yeah, so it's pretty neat.
So how are these set up a little bit different than just when you did it at parks? You had talked about they kind of like baited them or something like that.
Yeah. So when we just set them up, or when I set it up a long time ago, I just found active game trails. This project, it's a little bit more science related, so they have some different protocols that they use or techniques. So on the off-trail cameras, they have a little scent disc that is kind of an attractant, so it brings animals towards the camera, I should say. The trail camera, there's nothing there. It's just whatever's using the trail. So that's the one difference, is having that little scent disc. And I know we have some pictures coming up here eventually, and one of them you'll see like a little kind of a round circle on a tree. So that's that little scent disc.
We can take a look at them.
Sure.
So we got some pictures. We'll take a look at a few of the animals that they've picked up on these trail cameras.
Yeah.
So we're looking at here.
So that's a classic black bear right there, which there are a lot of them around here.
Yeah.
That was actually up on Cougar Mountain, and that is actually the off-trail camera. And if you look right below the bear's nose, you can kind of see a little circle right on that mossy area.
Oh, yeah.
That's the little scent disc right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's what attracted them to the area.
Yeah, most likely.
And then next we got...
there we have a bobcat. And again, you can see the little scent disc kind of mounted on the tree right there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how many bobcats do we have in the area?
It's actually pretty surprising. There's more bobcats than I ever thought there would be, just based on the amount of sightings that I've seen on our cameras. Again, it's kind of hard to tell different bobcats because they all kind of look the same. But
do you know what they're eating? Generally?
I don't know for sure, but if I were to guess, I would say probably small rodents and rabbits, things like that.
Okay.
Birds.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Kind of like a house cat, I guess.
Yeah, just a big one.
Yeah, exactly.
How big is that cat right there, you think?
Oh, I would say that's probably a 30, 35 pound maybe.
Wow.
Just guessing.
Good.
Yeah. So they're obviously bigger than a house cat, but they're not.
And they creep around at night mostly?
That is one animal that, I was just mentioning earlier that I haven't seen many animals, but that is the one that I have seen during the daytime.
Oh, okay.
So, but most of the activity that we would catch on cameras was during the night.
During the nighttime.
But I have actually seen them once or twice out in the field too, which is really neat.
Yeah,
it's fun to see. Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
They're amazing animals.
And then next,
There we have a coyote.
Okay.
And again, that's that same log that we just saw the bear kind of sniffing at, and there you can see the scent disc right by where he's pawing at the.
Right.
I think he's probably trying to get it off. So
Yeah.
it smells really good.
He's like, I want to eat some of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then lastly,
there again, we have a couple black bears, and then you can kind of see the scent disc on that one tree too, kind of.
so the scent discs seem to be pretty effective.
Yeah.
How many photos have you guys collected?
Oh wow! We started doing this in April, and it was kind of funny because the first cameras they set up, like I mentioned, we have a trail camera and off-trail camera, and I believe the camera crew or the camera group that was up on Tiger Mountain, when they first pulled their memory cards, I believe there was like 12,000 pictures from the trail camera.
Smokes.
I mean, just with bicyclists and hikers.
Oh, yeah.
And, so it wasn't all animals.
It was some urban wildlife.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they were a little overwhelmed with how many photos they had on the trail camera. And I think mostly what they've discovered so far, I think lots of deer, on those cameras. Yeah. I haven't seen all the data yet, but I know they're processing all that with the Woodland Park Zoo is. So there's a lot of data to go through. Like I said, 12,000 pictures in that and they've been doing it since April. So we have a few months of photos
to go through.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's quite a bit.
So how long's the project? Sorry. Maybe you said that. How long's the project going through?
So it's a 2-year project. So this was the first year. So they set out the cameras this year, are collecting data. I believe they have. I think they're going through November, and then they're going to pull them for the winter.
Okay.
And then put them back up again next year. So and it's all with volunteers. So this is a volunteer project. So the Woodland Park Zoo kind of coordinated the volunteer part of it, and it's mostly local residents who are interested in this program and wanted to participate.
Yeah. So pulling in November, does activity just decrease in the winter? Like bears are going away.
Yeah, they usually do. I don't think they go into full hibernation, but they kind of go into kind of a moderate hibernation or something. So bear activity definitely dwindles in the fall, winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
But everybody else hangs around still. There's still coyotes and bobcats and deers. And
exactly.
Kind of stuff, so.
Yeah, you definitely see those around. Yeah.
You ever caught like a elk or anything like that, or anything crazy on camera? Any unexpected animal that you're like, wow, there's one of those around here?
One thing I caught that was kind of fun, and I knew they were around here, but it was a flying squirrel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun. I mean,
who knew we had flying squirrels?
Yeah, but they're around.
So you caught one on camera?
Yeah, well, it was there, and they're nocturnal. So they look pretty much like a squirrel, but a lot bigger eyes, and they're brown. So that was kind of fun, flying squirrel. But no elk. I've seen elk tracks. I know they're around. I know they're just on the other side of Squawk Mountain, kind of in May Valley area. So I'm sure a few of them had wandered through. Other than that, gosh, nothing really unusual. One of the videos, and I think that you may have already seen it. We had one set up out at Squawk Valley Park, north, kind of where we have a small tributary that feeds in the Issaquah Creek there. And there was, I set it up there because there was some salmon coming up, and they had to kind of jump over this little log. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to try to get some video of that.
Oh yeah.
And in one of those videos, there was a whole family of raccoons that was trying to catch a salmon on one of the videos. I don't know if you remember that or not, but
I'll have to check that one out. I don't remember that one. I'll have to go through the raccoon folder.
Yeah, the raccoon, it's in there.
Maybe I didn't go for the deep dive and miss that one.
Yeah, well, the raccoons were diving. They were pretty actively trying to catch the salmon, but they weren't successful, at least on the video that I had.
Well, yeah, and that's some of the stuff that we've seen. So I know we've seen otters and beaver, and like you said, raccoons, blue heron. I mean the previous cameras that you had. I know I attempted the cameras this summer.
Yes.
And I wasn't as successful.
Oh, okay.
So Park Point, I got some good stuff in Park Point. It was a camera setting issue, and so they were really a lot more sensitive. So any tree branch, so it would fill the card up in a day and a half. And I'd go back and fill it up and did it. Yeah. So I'll try again next year. But Park Point was good. I think what I'll do next year is just put like 4 cameras around Park Point.
That would probably be good
because
there's a lot of activity out there.
Oh my goodness! Because the one camera that did get some stuff, it was bears and coyotes and some deer, all in that area. And I think if I put like 4, I could just get the whole hoedown.
Yeah, you probably could. Who knows what happens out there? When we're not watching. One of the funny things, and I know I told you the story too. We had the one kind of real disappointment that I had with the cameras, and this began many years ago. We had a roadkill. Out on Hobart Road. It was a deer, so we had to dispose of it. It was right by our park. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to just take the deer into the forest and set one of the cameras up. So I happened to have a camera close by, so we moved the deer out into the forest and with a small piece of equipment that we had to let kind of Mother Nature do its thing. And so I set it right up in front of the camera, and I came back. This was like a Friday, and I came back Monday, and the entire deer was gone. And so amazing. I was thinking to myself, this is going to be amazing. I get to see what's out here now, and what ate the deer, and so I got the memory card out, and unfortunately, the battery ran out. The last image or the video of that camera was the small piece of equipment that we had depositing the deer carcass in front of the camera, and then that was it. And then so when I came in Monday, there was just basically a backbone and some fur, and that was all.
Wow.
So the mystery's out there, whether it was a deer or whether it was a bear or coyotes or all the above.
Pretty sure it was Sasquatch.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been. I didn't even think of that. Which reminds me, we have got Sasquatch on video, I believe.
True. Yeah, I know. You have told me that story, and every time I hear that story, it just breaks my heart. As a video guy, it breaks my heart a little bit, too. I was like, that would have been a great video. But that's amazing that, you set it out on a Friday, and by Monday morning, it was completely gone.
Yeah, it was.
So Mother Nature worked quick.
She does. Very quick, yeah.
So what is the so you got these groups, they're out there taking the pictures, and can you just reiterate, what is the final goal of this project?
Yeah. So it's a few things actually. Mm-hmm. So one of them is, it's to engage kind of the local community, kind of get them involved with kind of the science behind this. So again, working with the Woodland Park Zoo, they have a lot different, more science-based protocols that they kind of follow. So kind of getting them, these volunteers more in tune with that. And then kind of how humans and carnivores can coexist. So, it's kind of looking at what's out there, how they interact with people. Okay. So it can give us better ideas of, you always hear, we don't want to put our trash out the night before, because the bears will get into it in some neighborhoods. So, or I know even in the Issaquah Highlands, they've come up with now bear-proof cans. So, which I think you can rent through Recology or something, or our waste disposal company. So, just improving the way we interact so we don't have conflicts, and then kind of understanding our urban carnivores and how they use our trail systems. Maybe we can design our parks and trails better to kind of have those animals coexist with us easier without conflicts. Right. So
it's educating people about living amongst all these carnivores and how we can just coexist with carnivores.
Coexist, exactly. I'm just trying to look at my notes. There's also another program. There's, I think the city of Chicago has a program where they're kind of doing the same thing with urban wildlife.
Oh, really?
And they're the first city that's doing it, and Seattle is the second one. So this project, this Issaquah Parks Carnivore Project, kind of ties into that. So it's and eventually it'll probably branch out through other cities throughout the nation too. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. So
like the tip of the sword type of thing on this kind of thing. That's really great.
Yeah, it is.
So, we talk about open space, and I don't know if people know the amount of open space that the city has. Can you kind of give us just kind of like over the years? I mean, even since I've been here, the city has accumulated. I think it's a important thing for the community to protect the forested hillsides and all our open space. So, just give people a kind of a pencil sketch of the amount of trails and open space that is out there. I mean, not detailed, but, just kind of like, I've just moved to Issaquah. Why do they call it Trailhead City? I don't know.
Sure.
So, I don't know.
Gosh, yeah, okay. So for Issaquah itself, I think we're about 12 square miles, I think, our city boundaries. Right. Yeah, it's not huge, but, we're obviously surrounded by the Issaquah Alps, or cougar, squawk, tiger, and even Grand Ridge in that area, Highlands area. So within the city limits, We have approximately, I think it's around 1,400 acres of open space.
Wow.
Give or take a few acres in there, and then about another 200 acres of parks that we have. So combined park acreage, including open space, around 1,600 acres that are just within the city limits. And then, of course, especially up on Squawk Mountain, you have Squawk Mountain State Park kind of at the top of Squawk Mountain. And then a lot of our other properties within the city border, the Washington State DNR property, which is all basically on Tiger Mountain. And then we also border a lot of government property or King County property up on Grand Ridge. So, just within the city, there's a lot. But then connecting to that are all these other open space lands, too.
So as you're traversing a trail that's in Issaquah proper, you might run right into a King County trail or a DNR trail or a county trail, basically, and just...
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, just within Issaquah, I know you were asking about trail mileage. I think just within the city limits, we have around, I'd say 14 to 17 miles of soft surface trails, so kind of the forested trails. But those, just like you said, they connect to hundreds of miles of trails just within the Issaquah Alps and then heading east towards Snoqualmie Pass even.
What's the city's relationship with Tradition Plateau? Is that city property? Or
yes and no.
That always confused me.
That confuses a lot of people. So Tradition Plateau or Lake Tradition, exit 20 off of I-90. When you go up there, if you drive I-90 a lot, you probably see a lot of cars parked along the road up there, Southeast 79th. Well, there's a trailhead up there, and that's one of the main trailheads for basically Tiger Mountain. So the lower portion of the Lake Tradition Plateau, so basically anything that's flat for the most part is all city owned. As you start to head up Tiger Mountain, then you start to get into DNR land, and so it's still public land. It's just different agencies that own and manage it. So, but yeah, so the area around Lake Tradition itself, Round Lake, Park Point is part of that, all city owned. Okay.
Did we do some projects up in Tradition Plateau area recently or something? Did you?
We are actually working right now.
In the middle of something.
Yeah, we're in the middle of something. So we have the Swamp Trail.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we have the Swamp Trail, which is I'm trying to think. It's maybe 2/3 of a mile, maybe, is the total trail length.
Real family friendly. We used to have the interactive, Zoe the Swamp Monster?
Zoe and the Swamp Monster, So Zoe and the Swamp Monster is still up there. It's a little family oriented hike. A portion of that trail goes through a swamp. Hence Zoe and the Swamp Monster. Right. So, and then, so we've had the boardwalk up there. It's probably pushing 30 years old. It was an old wooden boardwalk. It's had a great life, but it's at the end of its life. So, we're actually working now with Washington Conservation Corps, WCC, and we were able to purchase the materials last year to redo the boardwalk, and the crews are actually right up there this month, hopefully finishing it. So in the past, we used to have to close the boardwalk off in the wintertime because being a wood boardwalk, it gets very slippery and just kind of dangerous for people to use. So we've gone to a new product. It's something similar that DNR uses up on their trails and boardwalks. So it's a fiberglass that kind of has a gritty structure or a surface to it, so it's non-slip, and we're rebuilding the boardwalk, so now we'll be able to keep it open year round, and and people can now walk back through the swamp again, so
during the swampiest time of year.
That's right, without slipping and falling or getting muddy. So,
that's right.
And still experience Zoe.
So the city, speaking of open space, the city just bought or is in the process of the Bergsma property.
That's correct.
Yeah. Do you know much about Bergsma in that area and what that means as an addition to open space?
Well, I think total, and again, I don't know the exact number. I'm going to say 45 to 47 acre. Okay. It's a 45-ish acre parcel that also borders Harvey Manning Park, which is a city-owned park up in the Talus neighborhood.
Okay, so that gives me kind of a sense because I've been to Harvey Manning Park. We actually walked behind it, so that's Bergsma.
That is Bergsma.
We walked that one time.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that Bergsma property, it goes all the way down to Newport Way, and then it goes up the hill towards Harvey Manning, and then actually up the hill a little bit further and borders King County Cougar Mountain Wildland Park. Okay. So borders King County parkland. So that purchase of those acres now kind of makes that connection between Newport Way, Harvey Manning Park, and then the regional wildland park of King County. Okay. And the way I believe it worked is the upper portion the 12 acres or something that's higher up on the mountain, closer to the King County property. That was then given to King County, or they purchased that portion of it, and then the city got the lower portion of it. So, so it kind of connects Harvey Manning, and I know there's some discussions about creating some trails through there to kind of make that connection from the Talus neighborhood down to Newport Way, which drops you off practically right across the street from the Metro Park and Ride, parking lot right there, and Tibbetts Valley Park, and almost downtown Issaquah too.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so it's when those get developed and built, it'll be a really neat connection.
Is that kind of the plan once the property to build up those trails and make it?
Yeah, we're kind of looking in that right now, researching where some good trail connections would be. There's some social trails that are already up there right now.
Right, that just were naturally created.
Exactly. Yeah. So it might be a combination of maybe improving some of those and then adding some new trails too. So I know our park planners are working on that portion of it, and there'll be more to come.
Yeah, you talked about Harvey Manning Park.
Yeah.
And, people may not know. I don't know if you told in your bio that you're born and raised here, basically.
I did not mention that. I grew up right on the other side of Squawk Mountain.
That's right. So, so, we're talking old. You don't get any more old school than you.
Yeah.
And you were talking.
Now you make me feel old.
Well, you could be 12 and you'd still be old school because you're born and raised here.
There you go.
But, you talk about Harvey Manning Park, and, people may not know who Harvey Manning is, but he was a huge part of one of the reasons that we have all these trails and these open spaces.
That's true.
And you knew this man.
I did.
He was a big part. Well, I don't know a big part, but he was a part of your childhood.
Yeah, he was.
Tell us your stories of Harvey Manning, how you knew the man.
Oh, wow.
And and any anecdotes that you might have, or just kind of, and for the people that don't know, that are just, that are maybe new to Issaquah and don't know his history, maybe just give us some cliff notes about Harvey Manning.
Sure. Well, again, I was pretty young, but still. So, I want to say it was back in the late 70s. Okay. My parents, and I'm not sure how they made the connection with Harvey, but there might have been some ad in the paper or something about, hey, we're trying to create a club in Issaquah, the Issaquah Alps Trails Club. If you're interested, come attend this meeting. So my parents being avid hikers, and me growing up, with my parents and obviously hiking a lot, that was something that was of interest to them. And so they met and they talked, and Harvey was there, and Harvey is a well-known author of a lot of hiking books. Of pretty much most hiking books that you see of Washington State were authored by Harvey Manning.
He was the original.
Yeah, exactly. He was, yeah. So he was the one that kind of led this meeting and was trying to gain interest in forming a hiking club. And like I said, my parents and a few others that are still around Issaquah were involved in that. And then the Issaquah Alps Trails Club kind of began. And so my mom at the time when that first started, she was like the newsletter editor. Wow. Of course, we didn't have computers back then, so it was all hand typed and then cut and paste and then glue. Right. And so we would have these big newsletter parties at my parents' house. So yeah, Harvey Manning would always come, or he would have his input, or he'd supply some stories because he always had great stories about hiking adventures and things like that. That would be part of the newsletter. And then my mom would cut and paste it all, and they'd take it to the print area, the print shop, and then we have it printed. Then it would come back and fold and staple and do all that sort of thing. So yeah, then Harvey was always there at our house, and in these on a monthly basis, doing these newsletters. So I remember a lot of that from Harvey. And then the first hike I think we went on, it was back then it was the Talus Caves. Now it's just called Talus Rocks up on Tiger Mountain.
Yep. I like that hike.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites.
Oh, it's a great hike.
Yeah.
Well, at that time there wasn't any formalized trail going to the Talus Caves. So when we went with the hike with Harvey, there was I want to say maybe it might have been like 50 people.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a big group. Yeah. It got started later in the day. I think so. It might have even been like on a Friday or something. I don't remember. So he wanted to try to get people to participate in the hike that maybe couldn't otherwise. So we got a kind of a late start, and of course, without there being a trail to the caves, it was kind of a little bushwhacking until we finally figured out where they were. And I remember I think by the time we found them and hiked down out of the mountain, it was already dark. And of course,
man.
yeah, it was, I don't think it didn't go quite as planned, but the mission was accomplished, but it went a little bit later than normal. So
50 went and 50 came back?
Yes, everybody, yeah. But I believe there were some, because I know there were some younger kids, and I believe there were some parents who were a little bit frantic that their child wasn't home, at a certain time. Because
imagine.
By the time it was dark. So, but yeah, that was kind of funny.
That's funny. So Harvey was the start of the Issaquah Alps Trails Club, and so was your parents.
Yeah.
And you.
Exactly.
That's
if you look at it that way.
And it's still going strong. They just celebrated their 40th year?
I believe it was, 40th year.
And I think your dad spoke at that.
He did, yeah.
That's crazy.
So, I guess it would have been 1979.
Yeah, 1979.
Yeah, there you go.
So 40 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. It just seems like yesterday.
You've been hiking in these hills for 40 years.
I know. Now you're really making me sound old.
Well, in all those years, I'm sure you have seen Sasquatch twice. You just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Matt, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
This has really been fun. Is there anything you want to add about open space or trails or any advice or tips to anything with people who are going to head out and explore all that the city of Issaquah and its trail system have to offer?
Yeah, well, we just created our new map. Well, I say new. It's probably pushing 2 years old now.
But it's a great map.
Yeah, it's a great map. So it's pretty up to date. I believe the Chamber of Commerce has it.
Yep.
I believe there's some at City Hall.
Yes.
So you can get that map, hard copy of it at several different locations. I believe there's also an online version too. So if you want to download it on your phone or something like that. So it basically covers the Issaquah Alps like we were just talking about. So it covers basically all the trails in Issaquah and then all the trails that branch out up onto Tiger, Cougar, Squawk, and I forget how far east it goes, but it includes a lot of other public lands too. So great thing to grab if you're not familiar with trail systems around Issaquah. So I'd grab that map, and then just be prepared. You hear about the 10 essentials. So again, if you're not familiar with it, I'd look that up online. Make sure if you're going out and about, especially now, the days are getting shorter.
Yeah,
it's getting wetter. Be prepared. Yeah. And I always tell people, if you see some wildlife, that's an added bonus. It's kind of fun to see. So
that's exciting.
Yeah.
I think so. Do you know how many trails? So like, if someone wanted to take a hike a week, how many weeks would it take them to hike all the trails?
How far do you want to hike? It depends. I guess it depends how serious a hiker they are. If you're one of those people that likes to hike 10 miles or whatever, I mean, it would probably still take you several weeks to hike all the trails. If you were a 10 mile a day type hiker, if you're more of kind of a 1 to 2 mile hike, hiker, that's kind of your limit. There's a lot of
there's great day hikes all around.
Oh, there are. There's a ton of them. And in fact, that brochure I was just telling you about with the maps, it has a lot of it has several different hikes. I think we highlight like 10 hikes. So there's some that are really more family oriented, family friendly. Not a lot of elevation gain. Yeah. And then there's a couple in there too, and it might even be the Talus Rocks or one of them. Where it talks about a little bit more strenuous, but still great.
Oh, it's
great
beautiful.
hikes.
It's got that little. I don't know if it's year round, but it has that little waterfall.
Oh, yeah.
Once you get past the rocks on the way back down that I didn't know.
Yeah.
I just did Bullet Fireplace with my wife not too long ago. That's a nice little hike.
Yeah.
So my wife was trying to do a hike a week for 52 weeks.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So she drags me along too. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Matt. This has been really informative. I really appreciate you coming on Uniquely Issaquah.
No problem.
And for everybody watching and listening out there, stay unique.